Hi there, and welcome to another edition of the Gersnet Weekly Podcast, the independent Rangers podcast, which is brought to you by fans for fans, and where the content is free. It's episode 137 of the Gersnet Weekly Podcast. I'm your host tonight. I'm Colin Armstrong. As I say every week, it's not just the pod that we have here at Gersnet. We have the forums. We've got articles, match previews, match reviews, that kind of stuff. There's a history archive on the website, as well as Frankie's social media, so have a wee look at that. If the first time you've listened to the pod, we'd ask you to subscribe and on our YouTube channel, put the message out there on social media, let people know that we're here. Approaching 4,500 subscribers. I think we're over that now, actually, 4,500 subscribers, so we're doing well. So thanks to everyone who's subscribed so far. We're live tonight. It's a Sunday night. We have pumped Celtic 4-1 today, and you have no idea how difficult it was not getting pushed before I came on the show tonight. I've been wanting to party, but I can't do it. So we're live tonight, but the pod will be available to download or stream on a variety of platforms from tomorrow, including Acast, iTunes, YouTube, Castbox, Stitcher, and Spotify, all the usual places, guys. Now to bring in my two guests for tonight, we've got Ross Bennett and Stewart Weir. Ross, how are you?
You say it's difficult to not get pissed and not have a wee party after that result. I'm still getting over my hangover from the Champions episode that we did about 9 weeks ago now. And if anyone's not listened to that, please do go. But actually, please don't go back and listen to it, because I might go back and listen to it one day and see what I said. But look,
I don't think you want to do that. I had a watch it. I would let that go.
I know, a shocker. Listen, a phenomenal day. I really, and we'll get into it, but such an enjoyable day. The one thing I'd like to say, if I may, just for a couple of seconds before we get started. So some friends of my family, a chap called Dougie Coombs passed away this week. A big Rangers fan, season ticket holder. His dad passed away 6 weeks ago again, so a really, really tough time for that family. To everyone in the Coombs family, from Brayside to Colin and to Barbara, days like today, that's for you, that's for the Rangers family, and we hope that can put a smile on your face. A fantastic day today, Colin. Really, really enjoyed it. I quite enjoyed the fact that it's an early kickoff and we can enjoy the afternoon as well. I know you do look forward to watching Liverpool.
That was an interesting day.
I never had that pleasure today, but a really, really enjoyable day. I think after it's been a weird not anticlimax since we won the league. That's the wrong word for it, but a wee bit of a lull the last 4 or 5 weeks. So to come back and put that performance in today, fantastic.
You know what my afternoon was like? Have you ever seen that episode of Still Game where Winston wins all the money?
Aye.
And he's trying to think of things he can spend it on, and this demon in his head is going, you can go to the bookies. Well, I was like, the final whistle went, and I'm like, right, I've got like 6 hours before I'm on air, so I can't go mental. So I could go for a walk. I'll go for a walk. I could sit and watch it. You could have some cans. You know what I mean? It was just like cans. I'm like, no, I better no. So I allowed myself a couple, but I've abstained. But that will not be the case the minute I'm off air. The minute I'm off air, I'm having like a 3-hour party to myself and going back for it. Stuart, how's your afternoon been?
Yes.
Would you try to avoid the cans as well?
Pretty enjoyable. No, actually, I was. I've acquired a taste for Copperberg cider, the rosé cider, which is very nice when it's nearly minus 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So I have a few bottles of that this afternoon just to take away the thirst. Just when Ross mentioned there about that date about 9 weeks ago, the unofficial championship weekend, so to speak, it was the first podcast where anybody listening to it would probably have needed subtitles just to make out what Ross was actually saying. It was almost like a book would come attached to it just so you could read what he was actually trying to say. But we've all been there at some point in time, and just you continue to celebrate and enjoy yourself whenever the need arises.
That's very kind. Very kind.
We have all been there.
Yeah, we have.
And we'll all be there again in 2 weeks' time when Tav gets handed that trophy.
100%. 100%.
I'm dreading that show. It'll just be an absolute hour of debauchery. I don't even think we'll be talking about the game. You know what I mean? What are you drinking? Anyway, right, let's actually talk about the game. It's Ross, I'll come at you first. It's the biggest win that we've had over the Mankey mob over the road there. I think it's since 2001, and it's also the first time we've went through the season undefeated against them. I think it was the same season. I think it was Advocates' season, the season before O'Neill arrived. And I think that the last time it was the 4-0 game. I was there that day. I was in the Copeland Road that day, and it was 4 going on 7 or 8. But I mean, a proper pump in the day. I'm a wee bit disappointed we couldn't get maybe 1 or 2 more. But I'll take 4. But it's 3 years ago this month, or this week even, I think it is, we were getting absolutely hosed over the road, 5-0 for Celtic to win the league. And 3 years later, the roles are completely reversed. They're going out with no trophies. Obviously we've been a wee bit disappointed in the cups, but we've been home and hosed in the league for 2 months. I mean, how remarkable a turnaround is that in the sort of period that Steven Gerrard's been here?
It is quite staggering. And I think to appreciate the enormity of that, you do have to try and take a step back from the passion of Scottish football and the passion of the old firm, and try and look at it as a sporting exercise academically and say, this is how far behind we were. This is how much of an advantage and how much of a dominance that they had. And you think about the context of their one and only challenger being out of the league for 4 years, and the wounding that we took, and the finances that they had access to from the Champions League year after year after year. And when you try and consider it in that non-passionate, non-emotional context, and you look at that swing over the last 3 seasons, it is staggering, because I'm sure that the 3 of us on this call tonight were all probably unfortunate spectators of one of those pumpings that they dished out to us over that period, whether it's the 5-0s and the 4-1s, or the cup finals or the cup semi-finals, and all of those really, really disappointing and difficult defeats that we all endured. Well, actually, days like today, seasons like this season have really, really made up for that. The swing that we've had is staggering, and that's down to a couple of things. That's down to having an ownership that have taken the time to understand the problems of the club and address the problems of the club. That's down to a management team that have identified the playing weaknesses and addressed those over the course of 3 seasons. Yeah. And again, the ownership that have given the management team the time to do that and the space to do so. And on the inverse side, on the opposite side, it's down to almost the exact mirror at the other side of the city, an ownership that doesn't care and has been lackadaisical and lazy and complacent, and a management team that is utterly incompetent. And that's how we've made this swing, this turnaround. It is quite the transformation. They have a hell of a rebuilding job on, and we pumped them today. We absolutely pumped them. And I was saying to Frankie just before we came on air, they started well. I'm sure we'll go into this in a bit more detail when it comes to the game. They started well. They looked dangerous.
And they had chances in the second half.
They had chances in the second half as well. Elyounoussi should have scored. Turnbull should have scored. They had chances. We were clinical. They're not as bad a side, maybe, as some would have you believe. If they could finish chances, they'd be a decent side. But we were better, and we fully deserved that, and we did. We pumped them when it came to being clinical and finishing chances. So a really, really satisfying day that goes a long way to making up for some of the wounds that yourself, me, Stuart, and everyone listening to this podcast has suffered over the last 7 years.
And we have suffered. I mean, it was about 3 years ago that we started the pod. I think it was like a couple of weeks after we started it. We got a couple of pumpings in quick succession, and I went back a while ago and listened to one of those ones, and you can tell that we got pumped. Like, everyone's just, hello, welcome to the Gersnet Podcast. It's like 3 episodes in, and already we want to bin the idea. It's like, no, we don't want to do this anyway. And then obviously Gerrard arrives a couple of weeks later, and things pick up. Stuart, myself and David, we done the preview on Friday night for the game today. And we came out with 2 teams. One had Aribo in the middle of the park and Roofe starting in the front 3. The other one had Roofe not starting at all, with Aribo in the front 3 and Scott Wright coming in. Both of us were kind of leaning towards the option with Scott Wright in the middle 3, but Gerrard's went the other way. I must admit, I was a wee bit disappointed when I saw the team. I thought, because I've just not been convinced with Roofe recently. I just think he's in and out of the team. I think injuries have caught up with him. I'm not commenting as a player. I just mean in terms of form. I think he's been out of form. I think he's an excellent player. So I was a wee bit disappointed. Celtic went 4-4-2 again. Elyounoussi and Edouard up front with this diamond with Brown at the sort of start of it and Turnbull at the tip. And I think that does cause us problems. But you would have to say that, Gerrard yet again, he's been proved right, especially with Roofe. I mean, Roofe's performance and contribution today was outstanding. So you would have to say yet again, he's got the team selection right.
100% right. And it was also a formation that, whilst you're right in saying that Celtic started well, and it is a formation and a setup that's caused Rangers a degree of difficulty this season. I think you also have to look at Steven Gerrard believing that tactically and in terms of the team that he has prepared, he fancies his team and his formation and the players that he backs to be able to go toe-to-toe with Celtic and win the game, whether it's on a footballing basis or it just turns into an absolute shit fight. He reckons that his team can actually win that kind of game, and he was proved to be correct. I think what Roofe playing up front or in a forward position gave Rangers today was the ability to give the Celtic defence or the Celtic backline an absolute runaround. That, and you could see it in different aspects of the game. There were times where you had maybe a Rangers player and there wasn't and this is before even the sending off, there wasn't a Celtic player anywhere near him. Sometimes you had two Rangers players and not a Celtic player near them because they didn't know whether to commit and go and man mark but they were feeling as if they were being dragged out of position, which gave Rangers actually time to make different runs. And if you look at, especially I would say the third goal and what's the build up from that, Roofe is wide left 1 minute, 30 seconds later he's almost in centre midfield, then he lays another ball out and then he makes the run into the box and nobody picks him up to such an extent that actually two Celtic defenders go towards the ball and he basically just goes into the space and he gets a free header. And you can see by that movement what Steven Gerrard has been trying to achieve and what he tried to achieve today. And it worked. On other days, you'll be hypercritical that it didn't work. But today, it worked. And just in the mention of the teams and the formations and the lineups, I tweeted earlier on, that Celtic set out this season with the ambition of making it 10 in a row. And the 10 they finished with today was Bain, Kenny, Welsh, Ayer, Taylor, Sorrow, Christie, Turnbull, Elyounoussi and Johnson. There is not a person in Scottish football, be it a Rangers fan or a Celtic supporter or a pundit or an expert, who at the start of this season would have gone to a date in May for the final Old Firm game and said that would be the team that Celtic finished the season with in Old Firm matches. Not a hope in hell's chance would you have picked that. And I think that this afternoon, Celtic got a chasing today, but I think going into next season, I think there's a whole load of people suddenly recognising that the rebuilding job that has to take place across Glasgow is one that's probably going to take time. If they get it right in one season, they will have done an absolutely incredible job. But I think whoever comes in to take over the job at Celtic finds himself in much the same situation as Steven Gerrard did 3 years ago. And it will take time, it will take money, it'll take a bit of diligence and a bit of determination. But Celtic were not even, they were on the same pitch, but metaphorically, they weren't even in the same ball game as Rangers today.
No, they're not in the sort of same areas as in the league. That's 23 points ahead now. Just can't see them. Can't see them anywhere.
Those kind of stats don't lie, though. Those kind of stats don't lie. That has been built up over an accumulation over the season. Rangers' home record, utterly sensational in the league, be it games won or goals conceded, and the rest of the season they've gone and picked off teams away from home as well. All in all, this is as much of a as you called it earlier, a hosing as any team has given the other in a hell of a long time.
Ross, Alan McGregor again, I mean, he does it a lot, you know what I mean? And he does it in the big games. And yeah, again, another great save, It's one for distance, and I'm not convinced that even if he hadn't got his fingertips to it, that it would have, snuck in under the bar. But again, it's just having that confidence and knowing that when the big moments come, he's there.
Yeah, confidence. I think confidence is absolutely the right word.
And belief. That must give the defenders belief.
Exactly. So it gives the defenders belief, and I think it gives the defence a bit of, I don't know, it allows them to play the way that they want to play. If Connor Goldson wants to stride forward, if Barisic and Tav want to bomb forward down the wings, it means that they can do that with a bit of belief and a bit of confidence that we have McGregor there to fall back on. And he was called upon twice today. He was called upon for the El Yunusi shot, which he dealt with superbly and displayed athleticism that I certainly couldn't do.
I don't believe that.
No, I know. I could do that. We'll display that on Gersnet after hours. There'll be me trying to do that save. But is
that on the Patreon site?
Aye, exactly. That's on my OnlyFans. It's the kind of athleticism that you've kind of come to expect, and that's the thing. You almost start to underplay these saves from McGregor because it's like it's just every time. It's every single time. He's been a wonderful asset. He deserves another year. That boy deserves to play for as long as he thinks he can play. And I think he's been superb. The other time that he was called upon was when their fullback John Joe Kenny made an arse of a cross, and it could have gone in. And that, by the way, that's the only thing he's done since he arrived in Glasgow, is make an arse of a cross and nearly scored the goal. And he's been alert and he's made the save. I just think he was so composed today. Gerrard, I can't remember which game it was, but a couple of weeks ago, Gerrard after the game said, "I'm bored of talking about McGregor." And we're kind of at that point on the pod now. Every week we're saying, "Isn't McGregor great?" Aye, McGregor's great. He is, and it's almost become run of the mill that McGregor's going to do that, because that could have been a really pivotal moment. I think at that point it was 0-0. They still had 11 men. It could have been a different outcome. Wouldn't he have been? We're the better side, so it's fine. But another big moment.
It'd have been 4-2.
The point that Ross makes there, it was 0-0 at the time. If that had gone in, and I actually think it would have gone in. I don't think it was. I don't think that was missing. I think that was going in. He gets fingertips to it. It's when he makes that save. It's 0-0. If that goes in, Rangers are suddenly chasing the game a goal down, and they have struggled at times this season when they've gone a goal down. McGregor, that wasn't a save that has earned Rangers a point or earned them 3 points. That was a save that made the task easier this afternoon. And what a save. I've said it for weeks, probably months. He is my Rangers player of the year, bar none, simply because he has made those saves on so many occurrences. And the fact that you're starting to now downplay it, even Steven Gerrard is saying, "I'm getting bored talking about him." It must be fantastic to know that as a defender, when you're beaten, you're still turning around to see your goalkeeper making saves that he shouldn't make.
I see your Alan McGregor for Player of the Year, and I raise you Stephen Davis, but that's a debate for another day. Stephen Davis is my player. And there was one moment today, that tackle he put in the box. Oh, it's just 36-year-old. And I know.
Watch where he runs from. He
comes from nowhere. You know what I mean?
He sprints from the halfway line or just inside his own half. He does not ease up. He is... If he had pulled a hamstring or done a calf muscle or whatever it might have been, it mattered not a jot. He was getting back to that point where he could actually make that tackle.
Yeah.
And as you say, a 36-year-old busting his dangly bits to get back to make that tackle shows you everything you need to know about, one, him as an individual, and two, what he puts into that team.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, there was 2 or 3 moments of David Davis. I mean, when he sent Scott Brown out to get the evening times as well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, he's a class above, and I think there's numerous candidates for Player of the Year. But for me, I would give it to Davis. Sure, sticking with yourself here, the first goal. I mean, you would have to say I saw a good clip yesterday. Was it yesterday? Someone posted it on Twitter. It was something for Soccer AM recently. And it was at some amateur game, you know, a guy went up for a header, he's landed on his arse and fell on his back, and as the balls came to him, he's basically used his belly to, you know, put the ball on. A perfect sort of belly pass on his pal who ran onto it, right? And, well, it wasn't his belly, but, I mean, how Roofe put that ball in the day, it was borderline genius, you know what I mean? To react as quickly as that, because it's Kent sort of sclaffs the shot, you know, and it's not going to his feet. He can't get down, you know, to get his head in it. To just, you know, it's so clever just to change the direction of the ball. And Scott Bain, you know, he can't react to that because when it goes behind, you know, Scott Bain's looking at the ball going into where Roofe is. He doesn't know where it is, so he doesn't know where it's going to come from. You know, and he just changes the direction. I thought it was a superb finish.
As a goalkeeper, when you're watching that and it's coming in, you're saying there are basically 2 things that you're watching for. One is Roofe controlling it on his chest and deciding then if he's going to lay it off again or what side he's going to turn and have a shot on. Or is he going to really try and do something outrageous and trying to do is basically just to align his chest like a runoff area and an angle to steer it into the corner. And it is a goal. You use the word, I know you can use the word genius at any point in time, but for a striker, there were one or two guys sent text to me who are paid to score goals and are strikers who basically were saying that was verging on genius what he did. But the goalkeeper's in a decent enough position to make a save, but because of that, just that split second where all he's done is angled his chest to get the ball to run across his body and into the corner was an absolute, you know, bit of genius. And it's also the kind of goal that you look at and you say they've scored when there was a threat, but not the kind of threat that we expected. And that psychologically was as damaging, I would say. And then what followed within, you know, 20 seconds thereafter, but that was almost like game, set and match.
On what followed later, Ross, I missed the sending off and I was about to go to Twitter and I raged saying why was McGregor not sent off until I noticed the wee red bit under Celtic in the top right hand corner because me and the boy were jumping about celebrating, and then when I watched the replay I'm like, why is McGregor not being sent off for that? I'm about to go to Twitter and then I'd looked up and I'm like, no, they are down to 10 men. Now John Kennedy very very vocal afterwards saying that, you know, was it Nick Walsh, he got the first booking wrong. I disagree, Ross. I think the first one's a booking, especially when you consider what Simpson was booked for very early on, which was next to nothing. But I mean, even taking Simpson's out of the equation, you know, Ryan Kent's done him through the legs. McGregor's came through. swiped a leg at him, caught him. To me, that was a booking. I don't think there was any doubt about that booking. And the second one, there's absolutely no doubt about the booking. He's out of control and he's late. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt about it being a sending off. And I would actually, if I was quite impressed with Stirling Petrov today as a pundit. I thought he was really, really fair and came across very, very well. And I thought he was right. If I was a Celtic supporter, I'd be saying that's Callum Gregor. He's 26, 27-year-old, something like that. I expect more from someone who's been, touted as a future Celtic captain. To get 2 yellows so cheaply and to then put his team in Stoke, pretty poor. And for John Kennedy to sort of suggest that it wasn't a red is even poorer, in my opinion.
Have you ever seen anyone who sums up always cheated, never defeated FC as much as John Kennedy?
Yeah.
I mean, it's every time.
Lennon's pretty good at it, isn't it?
Lennon will go on the overly offensive and, have a press conference and really viciously have a go at folk whilst defending himself. John Kennedy just comes out and he says, well, it wasn't a red card, and there you go. Of course it was a red card. Of course it was a red card. I mean, look at both of those incidents objectively. They were both yellow cards. And again, you can bring in the Jack Simpson one, which was soft. And as soon as that booking for Jack Simpson happened, you went, Christ, here we go. Nick Walsh, first Old Firm. He's no up to it, or he's panicking. He's being rash. I thought Nick Walsh at that incident, letting the advantage go led to the goal. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. And actually, we've all been critical of referees, of course we have, and rightly so, over the last 3 seasons. Fantastic piece of refereeing to let that go, and should be commended for that. To then go back and send the boy off is actually relatively courageous, I think, because he knew it would be easy for a ref to say, look, they've got the goal, let's just let that go. Let it go. It's not a big deal. He knew that he'd be getting called out in the press afterwards, and he was. As soon as the final whistle went, Kennedy's there and saying it shouldn't have been a red card. The first yellow, where Kennedy's saying he never went to ground and Ryan Kent got there first, and that's all it was. Aye, he never went to ground and Ryan Kent got there first, and then you cleaned the boy out and it's a yellow. That's it. There's no two ways about it. So I think it's classic John Kennedy, who is becoming more and more odious with every passing game. It's good refereeing to allow that passage of play to go on and still go back and send the boy off. Was disappointed to see Jack Simpson get the yellow cards, but other than that, I actually thought, all things considered, Nick Walsh had a decent game. In that I don't actually remember too much else that happened, or too many other contentious decisions from the ref, and I think that's probably a pass mark in an Old Firm game. When it comes to the goal itself, if a wonderful move, of course, a wonderful goal. And if Alec Anderson was here, we'd be asking him, when was the last time a Rangers player scored off his tit? Because he would know that. I'm afraid I don't know that, so I am keeping my eye on the YouTube comments.
Was that singularly or off his tit or off his tits? Because I can answer.
Two very different questions. So
I can answer the second one first. No.
Off one tit, because I don't know who that would have been. I'm sure someone will. So if you can leave us that comment,
it's bound to be Derek Johnson, because he was quite, well built in that area. Surely.
Aye, so am I. But a lovely piece of play, a lovely goal, good refereeing to let it go, good refereeing to go back and send the boy off. John Kennedy get it right up you. I mean, there's not much else to say.
John Kennedy's wrong. The first one is an absolute stonewall booking. It would be a booking, whether it was East Fife against Arbroath or whoever it would be, that would be a booking. And he got it totally wrong. The second one, if you watch it, I have witnessed it, and we've all seen it, that could have been a straight red card. Never mind a second booking. And the fact that Nick Walsh, and I criticise referees inside out and back to front, that was almost like your initial thought is, what is he doing? And then the goal scored, and quick as a flash, McGregor's already turned down and looked at him, because he knows he's going off. And that, I mean, it takes a bit of it takes a bit of metal to actually say this is the decision I'm going to make, because there are other referees, and we know who they are, who would have looked at that and immediately blown the whistle. Just they would still have administered a red card, but just so they could get that red card out of their pocket and make that decision. They would have done that first and foremost, and to hell with the game or whether Rangers will get any advantage. So well done to Nick Walsh. I'll not be saying that probably in another 3 months, but today, well done.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point that Ross makes, it's hard to think of any other big things that he got wrong. I still think the booking on Simpson was really, really poor, and it made me fear for Simpson a wee bit, because I thought he had quite an uncomfortable day, and you're just thinking one mistimed tackle and it could be in trouble. But no, we managed to get through it. Guys, before we go on, I need to mention one of our partners. It's Football Prizes. So if you fancy the chance to win a Scott Wright signed and framed Rangers shirt, then get yourself on Football Prizes. .co.uk, and Frankie's obviously he'll put the word out there on Twitter. He'll tweet about it this week. So tickets for this are £4.95. There are 99 tickets available. I'm not sure how many are left at the moment, but the closing date is this Wednesday the 5th of May at 8:30. So you've got 2 days, 21 hours and 27 minutes exactly to buy your ticket. £4.95.
That's some egg timer you've got.
Oh, I tell you, I'm not telling you how I done that. It was all automatic up there. It was all in my head.
What is it now?
Right, so £4.95. As I said, 99 tickets left by Wednesday, this Wednesday, the 5th of May. If you fancy a chance of winning that. Right, guys, next thing on the agenda, Stuart, the Celtic equaliser, I thought Simpson was caught a wee bit on his heels, and I heard some people sort of criticising Barisic as well. But I've watched that a couple of times, and I think Connor Goldson actually blocks him. I think he's following Edouard's run, but the penalty box is so crowded, his own player blocks him, and all of a sudden it's one each. We reacted well to it though. Roofe had a good chance. Aribo had a good chance as well. Right after Celtic equalised, and then Morelos, scored. Not Meg Scott Brown. Couldn't have asked for anything better really. Smashed it in the top corner. Ayer, shat it essentially and ducked out the road of it. So he's went from no goals in Old Firm games, or Glasgow derbies as they like to refer to them as, to 2 goals in 3, and it was good to see.
The incident for the equaliser, I think Simpson was just out-muscled. He was bullied. He's gone from being in a position where he can defend to suddenly being behind Ayer when he actually goes for the header. And just after that, it was a free kick that Celtic had won. There was a bit of jostling, and it was Ayer and Simpson again in the box. And Goldson came across and marked Ayer, which was good to see, because we've seen that, in the past, where you have senior figures within the Rangers team reluctant to do somebody else's job, and not do their own. So he did well there. Morelos' goal, it's one of these ones where the guy has really struggled to get a goal against Celtic, and all of a sudden he's scoring for fun. But that, forget Ayer not being brave enough to put his head in there, or, and I heard it on TV that could Scott Bain have done better? No, he couldn't have done better. Not from that range, not with the velocity that ball was struck with. That was an absolute howitzer of a finish. And so much so when you're watching it on TV, and initially I thought he'd actually missed it and it hit the side net, and I couldn't actually believe it going right into the roof of the net. It was an absolutely fantastic finish. He kept his composure, he kept his head, but he scored that goal at a time where Rangers, I think, were angry as a team that they'd actually lost a goal and conceded a goal, and that Celtic were back into it, and they were determined they were going to take the lead again. And I just thought there was an element of composure from Morelos, but the finish. Listen, I'm not going to add anything to it or argue with anybody. Nobody was stopping that. you could have another defender on the line where he put it between that and the goalkeeper and the crossbar, and they wouldn't have stopped it. So absolute quality finish.
I have to say it made me quite nostalgic. I was at a game in 1989 at Love Street, and Ian Ferguson scored an absolute cracker. And it's famous for the ball boy behind the goal ducking. As the ball hits the net, the ball boy thinks he's going to take it in the coupon, and he ducked. And seeing Ayer doing something similar today, it took me back to that day in Love Street in 1989.
Ayer was a ball boy at Love Street.
It was just paying homage to him the days, just remembering him. That's what it reminded me of. I'm getting out the road of that.
What bus did he get to pay for?
Well, I was on the Cayman bus that day, so he was maybe on my bus. I don't know. Ross, the third goal, Roofe's second. Now, I think we need to sort of, give Roofe a bit of credit, because David and myself were speaking about him on Friday. I know both of us were sort of agreeing he's struggled recently. You know what I mean? He's not looked the same player since he's came back from injury. He's just had no sort of, he just hasn't had a run in the team. He's in for 2-3 games, then he's out again. And I thought it looked like that in some of his performances. He just wasn't showing that sort of form that he was. I thought sort of between November and New Year, the end of December, for about 6 weeks, that's when we saw the best of Roofe. And I don't think we've really seen that since the turn of the year until today. I thought today he was outstanding. And his second goal was a perfect example of that. As Stuart said earlier on, he picks the ball up outside the box, does a wee sort of Cruyff turn, puts it out to Barisic, and then doesn't stay on his feet, goes in. And the minute Barisic put the cross in, I'm off the couch shouting to my boy, that's in, because you can see the trajectory of the ball. You can see Roofe's going to meet it. And it's just about whether he puts it far enough either side of Bain for it to go in. And sure enough, he did. So I think he deserves a lot of credit today. And it was a good finish, a good goal that he was heavily involved in.
Yeah, definitely. Look, after the game today, he's done interviews with Sky Sports, he's done interviews with Rangers TV, and in both of those interviews, he's kind of referred to the last little period not going his way, both on the park and off the park. And I know that off the park, he's had to deal with his fair share of the racial abuse that's been spouted at our players, and it could be that absolutely naturally and understandably that's really affected him. It could be that there's other stuff going on, we don't know. But he definitely did allude to some off the park problems, or he's not feeling 100% in whatever way. So that might go some way to explaining performances on the park. But I absolutely agree. The second half of the season, which has been stuttered with injuries and suspensions after karate kicking a guy in the face, probably deserved a suspension for that. It's maybe not.
Was there to be one, in my opinion. But anyway, maybe I come from a different era. But there we go.
I'm one of these millennial snowflakes. It hasn't been an ideal first season for the boy, and yet he's scored 16 goals or something. And he's shown his quality. He's
actually got a better strike rate than Morelos in terms of goals per minutes and all that.
So there you go.
It's staggered. That's the problem.
It is staggered, and it's not been an overly successful last couple of months for him. And I was texting David Wren, Gersnet Podcast, eye candy David Wren. I was speaking to him earlier during the first sort of 15-20 minutes of the game, saying
anything you're going to say about Roofe now, there's no one's going to take it. No. There's no credit in what you're saying anymore after describing David Wren as eye candy. But anyway, on you go.
Relative eye candy compared to
relative
the rest of us.
Okay.
I was sort of saying to him, like, something up with Roofe, and he just seems half a yard off it. I even thought that first 15 minutes today, it almost wasn't clicking. And as soon as he gets that first goal, which was an exceptional moment of quality from him, and as soon as that goal goes in, there was a change in him. And it was confidence, or it was something, and he was sharp again. And that his second goal, Rangers' third goal, it was wonderful. The way he lays the ball off to Barisic and he bursts a gut to get into the box. And there's actually, after the game, I like to check out the photos from Willie Vass. So if you go on Willie Vass's website and you have a look through the pictures of the game, there's 2 pictures of Roofe jumping to win that header, and he's in acres of space. Right, he's miles of space, and it's wonderful photos. You see the way that he's found that space. Barisic's ball in is exceptional. It all works, and it's a really beautiful goal to watch, because it's a given goal and it's a 1-2, and it's a fantastic goal. it's kind of poetic, and it flows really nicely. It's a really lovely goal. I think actually all 4 of the goals today were really special in a way. You've got Roofe scoring off his chest. You've got Morelos nutmegging Scott Brown and lashing it in the top corner. You've got a really nice give and go movement into the box and a free header, rising above everyone else. And then you've got an individual moment of quality from Defoe. They're all very different, but they're all top quality goals. And that one from Roofe, I was really pleased to see him score. I was really pleased to see him score twice. And I think you could see actually in his comments after the game that it meant a lot to him today. Really pleased.
He's also been added to a list. Sorry, Stuart. He's also been added to a list. I don't know if you've seen it. Someone put out a list of players that have scored in Old Firm games since the last time Lee Griffiths scored. So the amount of Rangers, so it's like Ryan Jack, Tavernier, Goulton, Morelos, all these players. It's like 10, 12 players that have all scored since the last time that Lee Griffiths scored a goal against Rangers. So, yeah, and that's a prestigious list to be on. Sorry, Stuart.
No, I was only going to say, just to kind of reiterate what Ross was saying there, I think Roofe is a momentum player. I think he gets into a game by either having a touch or doing something particularly well, and he builds off that. When he hasn't done anything like that, he can just drift through a game. I know he might lay the ball up or go and chase a ball, but when he's actually been active and actually has played a part in the game, I honestly think he's a guy where you can actually see him build a head of steam up during a game. And because it's been his season has been so punctuated by injuries and being dropped and being drafted in, and Steven Gerrard making certain changes and the likes, it's difficult to get that kind of momentum going. But I thought he was exceptional today, and again, the 2 goals that he scored, the second goal, his second goal, it reminded me, and I've been trying to think who it was. There was a header like that in an Old Firm game. Was it Gascoigne scored a header? The ball get played out wide, and Gascoigne made a run into the box and put a header. I think it was maybe past Gordon Marshall from memory, and it was just so similar to that you see guys getting into the box there. You look at Celtic. Analyse should have scored, but he was almost like concentrating on how am I going to head this, and even to an extent Turnbull with the diving header, it was almost like, where am I going to put this? Instead, just stick his head through the ball and actually saying, if I put my head through the ball properly, this is going in the back of the net and nobody's stopping it. And I thought it was an exceptional goal.
Someone else that had an exceptional performance today, Stuart, and is worth mentioning, is Ryan Kent. Surely he should get to keep Greg Taylor for what he done to him out in the touchline there. Greg Taylor should be sitting in Ryan Kent's trophy cabinet tonight. But he's someone, and on this show as well, at times, we've questioned him, and I don't think it's so much the player. As always, it comes to how much we paid for him, and at times 7 million looked like maybe too much. But as we've said before, the thing with Ryan Kent is even when he doesn't play well, he occupies defences. I think he scares defences, and when he does play well, you get what you got today. I mean, he was unplayable at times today, and he was everywhere. He's so hard working, and I don't think he gets enough credit for the stuff that he does defensively. When Rangers lose possession, if he's in the area, he works to get that ball back.
When he skinned Greg Taylor with the fancy shuffle to skip past him, Laxalt was already on his 3rd pint of pina colada. At that point in time, he was still celebrating the fact he wasn't playing in that game, because he would have taken an absolute roasting as well. The Sky Sports coverage, it showed you the kind of touch map, 65 touches or 64 touches he had of the ball, all over the pitch. And that is what you're looking for from somebody who plays the game like Ryan Kent. He's 2-footed. He can attack from anywhere. If you look where the first McGregor foul took place, it was centre midfield. He's going looking for the ball, and when he's in that mood, and I've criticised him in the past, you you're the winger, and I've said it on here before. I remember an Old Firm game, Souness' first season, when Davy Cooper was playing, and Souness, midway through the game, said, "Here's the ball, you're the fucking winger," and just kicked it to him and asked him to go and do something. And that's what Ryan Kent's performance was today. He went looking for the ball. He was so effective, and he also runs with the ball and is able to change direction so quickly that defenders must have their heart in their mouth, because they know that the least wee touch, he's down. And if they don't read it right, he's past them. And I thought it was exceptional. The whole thing about 7 million quid. 7 million quid is big money for Rangers, and it was big money for Rangers to splash out on a player who had a decent enough season when he was here on loan. £7 million buys you an average mid-table player in the English Championship. So let's get that probably right. It's not like, but £7 million today, where Rangers are at, is comparable with, spending £6 million on Michael Ball or whoever it might be 20 years ago. It's big bucks. And I think in terms of what Rangers have got this far, I think he's now starting to pay dividends. You see it, and it's appeared, he's now worth 20 million quid. He's only worth 20 million quid on one, that if somebody comes up and says, "I'll give you 20 million quid for him," and the other one is if Rangers want to sell him.
Yeah, I mean, I think he will go eventually. I think that's part of the plan, and I think that was part of the investment. The Rangers were investing that money in the hope that they would recoup it. But I think as the longer he's been here, the more he's shown his true worth there. You know what I mean? And when he's on form like he was today, and he tends to be in form in the bigger games. He is a big game player. There's no doubt about that. And today, I mean, I can't mind who it was that tried to get the shirt off his back, but ripped a big hole in the.
Basically just grabbed him.
Just grabbed him.
That's a sign.
That's a sign of someone that's just
desperation.
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 I can't live with this guy, so I'm just going to pellet him. You know what I mean? Now, from someone that played exceptionally well, Ross, to someone who I would say enjoyed is pushing it. Someone who endured his final Glasgow derby, brunette Scott Brown. Now, I mean, we've all had to live with Scott Brown over the last few years, turning up to play against substandard Rangers teams and strutting about the place as if he owned it. I was looking at his record today since Steven Gerrard turned up, and in league games alone, I think it's played 10, won 3, and suffered 6 defeats and 1 draw. And that, to me, that sums up Scott Brown. You know what I mean? He was very, very good at sort of bullying, your Ian Blacks and all that kind of thing when we had an absolute Shelley aside. But the minute he's been met with any sort of competition, even at the early stage of Gerrard's, reign at Ibrox, the first season, won 2 All Firm games and we lost 2 All Firm games. So even then he's went for, bullying folk and thinking he's the bee's knees to coming out of these games 50-50. And he's not really done anything at Ibrox since Gerrard arrived, you know what I mean? And I must admit, it probably got the 5th biggest cheer of the day when he went off the day. Me and the boy were up giving it a laldy, applauding him off the field. And I would imagine it was a scene that was repeated all around Scotland amongst the blue half of Glasgow anyway.
Yeah, quite funny. A fitting end to that man's career, because I think you're absolutely right. And I'm not going to waste too much of our time talking about Scott Brown, of course, but there's no better way of saying it than as you said. It's all well and good dominating against Ian Black and some of the dross that we've put out. Your Russell Martins and your Joe Worrells and your David Bates and that kind of caliber of player. I don't mean any disrespect to those players, but to be brutally honest, we have better players now, and those were not good enough players to come up against Celtic and pose a threat. So it's all well and good strutting about and being a club legend when there is no challenge, whether that's quite literally no challenge because we're not in the league, or no challenge because we don't actually represent a challenge when we're back. And you're right, as soon as a challenge comes along, he's done a runner. He's run away. And I think the only way for me to sum it up is what's my abiding memories of Scott Brown going to be? And my abiding memories of Scott Brown will not be him bossing football pitches or being a hard man or wearing a t-shirt when it's snowing. That's not my memory. My memories of Scott Brown will be, firstly, him passed out in the street with a kebab, followed by him
I've got to stick up from there. We've all been there, Ross.
Aye, we've all been there, I know. Especially Stewart with his Copperbergs. So him passed out in the street with a kebab, him sitting in the Ibrox stand today, looking like he was about to burst into tears. And then, again, him today being nutmegged by Morelos for a goal, and him being nutmegged 2 years ago by Ryan Jack for a goal. Those are my memories of Scott Brown, and I'm quite happy with those memories of Scott Brown. So away you go to Aberdeen. And I'm looking forward to him putting himself on against us next season and embarrassing himself again, because he's not got the skill. If he was that good a player, he'd have taken a chance and gone to England. He would have done, because we've seen plenty of talented players move to England and give it a go. But he was happy enough to build a career as some faux plastic hard man, bossing a league that had no competition, and that's his legacy. And that's it. I think that's all there is to say about him.
My two favourite memories of Scott Brown are when he missed that penalty in the semi-final against a championship Rangers side, and a couple of weeks ago when Ryan Kent went that way and he went that way. That's another abiding memory of Scott Brown. But I must admit, I had a wee chuckle to myself. And I think we're entitled to do it. You know, he's chucked enough of it about over the last, 7 or 8 years or however long. You know, so now he's getting it back, and I'm quite enjoying it. Anyway, Stuart, icing on the cake today, 5 minutes to go or something like that. Steven Gerrard sticks on Jermaine Defoe, and I think it was obvious he was just sticking him on in the hope that he would get a goal, because there's probably a good possibility that this could be Defoe's last season. And sure enough, last kick of the ball, he twists the blood of Stephen Welsh, he turns him inside out, and just passes the ball and into the far corner. And the look in Defoe's face, it really did. It really was icing on the cake for me, because he genuinely looked like he had achieved an ambition that, since he's been here, I think he's wanted a goal in an Old Firm game, and he done it. And even the bench, the way the bench reacted, the way his teammates reacted, you could tell it meant something to him, and it really was. It just topped the day off lovely.
I've said it on here a couple of times. I think Jermaine Defoe and what he has added to the Rangers squad, not just in terms of his experience as a player, but also in terms of what he's added to speaking to players and telling them what is expected of them and how they go about achieving that, I think has been absolutely colossal, been absolutely immense for Rangers. And it's almost like, it's almost like Steven Gerrard probably has a shop steward doing his bidding for him, on the shop floor and saying, this is what we need to do. Rangers are a team who have been rudderless and leaderless about 3 years ago to suddenly having a team of leaders and guys who are not frightened to tell each other when they go wrong or what they should be doing. And Defoe's one of these guys that actually leads by example. And I think you're right. The expression on his face was utterly priceless. I only wish, it's a bit like watching Manchester United the other night there when Cavani scored. Those guys have put a lot into football, and you want to see them enjoy themselves when they get a goal, and you want to see the kind of the crowd that's there actually celebrating when they get a goal. And I feel sorry for somebody like Defoe to get that goal today and not have 50,000 in the stadium celebrating that goal for what it was worth, because it was absolute quality. He had a confined space to work in. He knew how he was going to work the ball on his left foot to get the shot away, and he had a limited space to where he was going to put the shot, and he didn't try and blast it. It was almost like Jimmy Greaves-esque. I'm just going to pass this into the goal, and the fact that it trundled in almost in slow motion, I think, just added to the beauty of the goal. As Ross said earlier on, 4 different types of goals, but every one of them a mini classic. And I thought Defoe's goal was absolutely brilliant, and the response of his teammates and the response to the bench. If Steven Gerrard had scored that goal in front of the Kop, I don't think he would have been any happier than what he was when Defoe scored that goal, because that was Defoe's payback time for coming to Rangers.
I should point out, I thought Haji's pass and the build up to it was superb as well. You know that, because I think it was Sorrell that gave the ball away. Davis one touch to Haji one touch to Defoe. And at one point, Ross, I thought his pace was going to let him down. He wasn't going to get his shot away, but he's twisted him and turned him, and then managed to get the shot away.
It has, and Haji's pass, I absolutely agree. It was a wonderful assist, and Haji again makes himself available for the, almost like a 1-2 or a give and go, and Haji would have had the opportunity, but it's Jermaine Defoe, and he gets into the box and he twists and he turns and he screws Stephen Welsh into the pitch like a high school cheerleader after prom. And it's look at that.
Yeah.
I've been working on that, but it was wonderful, and
it didn't work very hard.
Right, that's no talk sport material, is it, Stuart?
No. I'll see you next week.
It was a wonderful goal, and it was. I think Stuart's absolutely right. That boy has scored goals at every level. He's scored goals. One of the top goal scorers in the Premier League in Europe for his country. Natural born goal scorer, and that goal meant something to him. You could see that. It was a hell of a reaction. It was a hell of a goal. Wonderful play from Haji, and Jermaine Defoe doing what Jermaine Defoe does. He's been on the pitch for 5 minutes. I think we all probably know there's a wee bit of subtext with Defoe this season that he's probably not happy at how few opportunities he's had, because he does have a record of scoring pretty much in every other game, and considering for him a game is pretty much 10 or 15 minutes if he's lucky. He very, very rarely starts. So he has an excellent goal scoring return. His goals per minutes must be, it must be quite staggering. I'm not quite sure what that is, but it must be really, really impressive. So that goal meant something to him today. And I think we probably all expect he won't be with us next season. I think if that's the case, he probably knows that by now. What a way to sign off if that's the case. And if this is it, if that's the last we see of Defoe, or if that's the last we see of Defoe scoring for Rangers, I think he's done exactly what he was brought in to do. He scored some excellent goals. He scored some important goals. He's contributed magnificently, and been I think a really kind of admirable servant in the Rangers colours. So a really, really nice way for the game to end today. And I don't know if it's just me, but there's a difference in my mind between 3-1 and 4-1. 3-1 is a win, but 4-1 is a convincing win. 4-1 is verging on pumping. 4-1 is verging on battering. So quite satisfying to kind of tip into that territory.
Just on Defoe. I mean, I tweeted something saying, and it was almost like a second before he scored the goal, giving Defoe a run out is overloading on the sprinkles, and then he goes and scores. And somebody replied saying, remarkable to think his league medal will only be the second winner's medal in his long career.
Yeah,
which. I replied to that. I think basically I had a discussion earlier on this or last week with somebody. I think that goes to show you what a team player he is. Almost one of the ultimate team players who, okay, he's had a fantastic career and he's done some wonderful things. But the fact of the matter is that he's almost a guy who's contributed more to other teams than he has his own career, just because of the performance level he's achieved, the goals that he's scored. I mean, I think he scores a goal every 2 games, which is pretty remarkable in itself. But I do think that, wherever he goes at the end of this season, or if he gets another season out of Rangers, or whatever happens to him, that guy is going to be an asset to another football club or a football club somewhere, simply on how much he's got stashed away in his brain from what he's learned over the years.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. And I mean, part of me thinks he will go. I think there's a good chance that, I think Ross makes a good point that I think Defoe himself is frustrated that he's not getting enough game time. But part of me thinks that, I think he's involved quite heavily, behind the scenes and stuff like that. And there might be a wee chance that he stays. And I would, depending on the terms and all the rest of it, I would be happy for that. Guys, conscious of time now. That's us. We've done the hour. It's always a quick hour when we pump that mob across the road. So that's us. So a big thanks to Ross and Stewart for their contributions tonight. Excellent stuff from them as always. We'll have a show next Sunday. Obviously, no game next week because it's the Scottish Cup semi-finals next week. I believe the next game is Livy on the 12th of May. So we'll have a show next Sunday, but I'll probably be previewing the two games coming up.
Is that tournament still on?
Nobody's bothered with that anymore. You know what I mean? It's all about the undefeated stuff, Stuart. That's what it's all about now. In the meantime, get yourself onto the Gersnet website and forums at www.gersnet.co.uk. In the meantime, guys, as I say every week, stay safe, look after yourselves, and until next time, bye for now.